I tried reading without the influence of Goodreads, Booktok, or Booktube, and the results were surprising. I was feeling burnt out with Booktube, so I decided to read 3 books without being influenced by social media. I'm going to blindly rate them after I read them, and then check the Goodreads rating at the end of the video to see where I land. Back from the thrift store, and now I have 3 books that I've chosen for my lineup. 2 of them are very much within my normal reading range, and 1 is completely different from what I usually read, but we'll get to that later, and I'm excited to show you what they are. The book that I'm gonna read first is by Megan Lindholm, and it's called The Wind Singers. I'm assuming it's a YA. As I was looking at the inside though, I realized this is actually the 2nd book in a series. It's not the 1st book, so hopefully it'll be good to jump in with the 2nd book, and I'll be able to just pick up things as I go. I'm getting to the point in this book where I feel like I'm kind of catching up with the story. I'm kind of catching up with the characters. There was a section where they're at kind of a fishing tavern, and he's on this challenge to retrieve a chest from under the water that some people say is there, some people say is not there. But she used this language of like the sea mourned, or like the sea like grieved, or just that personification of like the sea, I think is like so prevalent throughout like fisherman lore or just like seafaring lore. So I thought it was like really beautiful how she integrated it into these sections. It's kind of nice to finally feel like I'm like in the story now rather than just like playing catch up. Good morning. I finished the Wind Singers book last night. It took me way too long to get through this book. As you can probably tell by the fact that my hair has like literally grown out over the course of me trying to film this video. I mean, it wasn't unenjoyable. I just think that coming in on the 2nd book of the series was really hard to get into, and then also the main characters who are supposed to have this relationship are separated for basically the entire book. There's only like 10% of the book where they're actually in the same setting, so it was just really difficult to get into. Yeah, I'm not like totally against this book. I don't think it's like the worst book ever, but I would probably give it a 2.5 stars just because it was really hard for me to get into. Interested to see like what this is rated and what kind of other books Megan Lindholm has. But yeah, that's The Wind Singers. Finally done with this book. The 2nd book I'm reading is called The Thorns Remain, which follows a group of friends in the Scottish Highlands who disappear after a dance with the Fae and their friend Moira Regine, who's trying to save them. Morning. It's the next day, and look at this tree. Just like, oh my gosh, let's give a moment for the exposure to figure itself out, but like, is that not the most beautiful bright orange tree that you've ever seen? I came on here to tell you guys that I'm gonna keep reading The Thorns Remain, but I cannot find it. I don't know where it went. It was right here on my nightstand. And then I think I took it off. Oh, it fell. Here it is. Okay, so before I start reading this again today, I am gonna make a coffee. And yesterday I saw a video about a salted maple butter latte, and that just sounds amazing. So I think I'm gonna try and make that. Also, sorry, my hair is kind of crazy today. I look like a bear. Crazy because I feel like we went from absolutely no romance to like he's obsessed with her in the span of a chapter, which feels a little quick. Feels a little quick to me. You guys, the romance got worse. It felt weird. And as I sat playing my son's guitar and contemplating what I should do, I realized I don't need to read books that I don't like. And it's probably okay if I DNF this. Even though I'm so close to the end, I do not need to waste any more of my wild and precious life on a book that makes me feel weird. Since I am officially choosing to DNF this book, I will now give it its rating. And I'm gonna give it a 2.5, which is sad for me because I really was excited about the premise. I thought it sounded really cool. But once the romance started becoming more prevalent towards the end of the book, it just made me feel so uncomfortable. It felt icky and gross and just like inauthentic. So part of me is kind of curious as to how they were gonna finish that all out. It gives me the ick every time I try to read it. So I'm not gonna finish it, and I'm gonna give it a 2.5 and move on with my life. Okay, it is time to read the book that is very different from what I usually read because it is Alaskan folklore, and it's called Two Old Women, an Alaskan Legend of Betrayal, Courage, and Survival. So let's check it out. Finished the book and I almost feel like it was cheating to choose this one because it is so short, but I'm really glad that I did because the friendship between the two old women was just really sweet, and it was cool to see how the hardships connected them, and they each were battling the hardship in a different way, and they found ways to encourage each other in different ways. And so I thought that was a really, really neat element to the story, how they dealt with betrayal and then how they endured despite the betrayal and hardship. It was all just very encouraging, and yeah, I'm really, really glad that I picked this up. Definitely would give it probably a 3.5, maybe 4 stars. All right, you guys, now that I have finished reading all 3 of my books, I wanted to go over each one and see what the Goodreads rating is and how that compared to my rating. The first one that I read was The Wind Singers by Megan Lindholm, and this one I was very excited about going into because it's a fantasy. It sounded like it had a very cool premise with these basically witches who could control the wind, but unfortunately when I started it, it just felt so disjointed jumping into this book. Because I knew nothing about it, I didn't realize that it was the second book in a series. So I think just jumping into it, not knowing anything about the world and having the story kind of feel like it started off in the middle of another story, it was really hard to get into it. And then our main characters, who I think are supposed to care about each other in some romantic way, were split up throughout most of the story. So it was just really hard to like jump back and forth between 2 different stories. So I didn't really feel like I knew what was going on. She's a good author and I enjoyed her writing style. There were a couple moments that there were things that all of a sudden became romantic out of nowhere, and it just felt odd and it felt out of place. There were a few scenes that I really enjoyed though, so I did end up giving this a 3 stars, and now I'm gonna look at Goodreads and see what it's rated on Goodreads. And this has a 3.71 on Goodreads, so I think I was pretty close to what some other people were maybe feeling. So that is it for The Wind Singers. The second book that we read was The Thorns Remain, and as you guys know, I did not end up finishing this book. I really was hoping to like this one. I felt like out of all the ones that I chose, this was the one that I was expecting to like the most, because I'm just, at heart, I just am a girl that likes fairy tales. So I was just hoping that this would be kind of like a dark spin on a fairy tale and have some cool Scottish landscapes and interesting tradition and everything, and it had elements of that, and there were so many times where it felt like it was going to get there and then we just missed the mark. It felt like it was going to get to that eerie Scottish moors type of vibe, but it just kept coming back to the same issues that the main character was trying to solve, and in the process she didn't really change and the circumstances didn't really change. It just felt like a loop. And then once the romance with the fairy king started up, it was just strange to me. It felt too odd. It felt too out of place for me to really get behind any of it. With his curiosity about like the mortal world and feelings and human emotion, I got that, and I thought it was a cool angle to come at his curiosity about her, but it just felt strange. I don't know, it made me feel weirded out. And I gave this 2.5 stars, so let's check what the Goodreads rating is. Okay, so on Goodreads, the average rating is 3.44, so I think some people had some similar feelings about this, but it wasn't a bad book. It wasn't
terrible. I just didn't really enjoy it. So, and then last but certainly not least, we had Two Old Women. This one reads exactly like folklore and campfire stories should read. It was interesting, it was quick, there was a strong moral of the story. It felt like a story that is meant to be passed down from generation to generation, and I just loved the enduring resilience of the two old women in this book and the lessons that they taught their tribe and themselves as well. So yeah, really, really loved this book. It's a great little quick read, so if you're ever able to pick it up, highly recommend. Okay, those were all the books that I read without any influence of social media. Never saw any of these on Goodreads, on Booktube, TikTok, Instagram, anything. So this was fun. It kind of felt like seeing something at the library when you're in middle school and just picking it up and trying it out. And I think we should do more of that. Also, I definitely think that we shouldn't read books if we're not liking them. So don't force yourself to finish anything. If you try it, don't feel like you have to push through just to have that extra book listed on your Goodreads. And I am of the opinion that you can mark a book as read even if you didn't finish it all the way. But that's just me. Maybe that's controversial. This was such a fun experiment. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this reading vlog, let me know in the comments if you want to see more like it, and go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. I appreciate y'all being here. Go enjoy some good stories and aspire to think well about them, and I'll see you next time. Bye.